Welcome to another exciting episode of the Pig's Ear in Review. And as always, I'm joined by the lovely Rika Rose. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
As always, a special guest host. Welcome back every single time.
You could not have me one episode.
Should I just set up like a dummy, like next to me or something, just talking to no one, to myself? Oh goodness.
It'd probably have better input than I do.
That'd be an interesting episode. So today we're going to be talking about a game this time, and we're going to be talking about one that came out just a couple months ago called It Takes Two.
hmm
And this was I mean, I shouldn't say it's a sequel to their last game, but it's a in the same vein style of game of a co-op game for A Way Out. So this company, which I'm now drawing a blank on, I can't. Is it Hazelight Studio?
Hazelight.
Yeah, Hazelight.
Hazel.
They have now kind of made a name for themselves of these kind of co-op games where, like, you can't play with a computer, at least not with this latest one. I don't think you could with A Way Out either. Like, you have to have somebody, whether it's couch co-op or over the internet, over
hmm
PlayStation or Xbox Live or whatever. But yeah, they've sort of made a name for themselves as doing these two games, and their kind of studio head Josef Fares is also an interesting character, as he's been on the Game Awards a few times, cussing out the Oscars, and God knows what else he was talking about. I think at the last one, I can't even remember.
Well, he said in the lead up to this game that if you don't like it, he would give you $1,000
There we go. That sounds about right.
because he said it's impossible not to have fun with it.
What an incredible statement to make about the quality of your game. So yeah, he's an interesting dude. If you haven't looked, for anyone watching, if you haven't looked up Josef Fares, just look up like Josef Fares Game Awards or something like that. You'll see some clips. And Jeff Keighley, to his credit,
hmm
invited him back the next year and had him speak again, and people loved him. So he's definitely an interesting dude for sure. But
Well,
yeah.
he was the most interesting part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you can only do so much with some of these award shows. So anything that's going to be like some random dude cursing people out, I guess, is going to be talked about a little bit more. So, but no,
hmm
he's a good dude. I've seen some like actual interviews with him when he's talking about games, and he's a genuinely he seems like a cool dude. But yeah, so A Way Out, I actually didn't play, but I've seen playthroughs of it, and it looks fine. Looks like a cool game. I'm sure I'd love it if I get around to
I
playing it.
really enjoyed it.
Okay, you
I
say yeah.
really enjoyed
Okay,
it.
yeah. I mean, if is there anything you want to maybe briefly mention about that one, or?
I feel like although I really enjoyed A Way Out, you can definitely see that was sort of a concept for what
Mm,
they've done in It Takes Two.
yeah.
And the game they made before that was Brothers. I don't know if you ever played that one.
No, no. Mm.
Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, I think's the full name for it,
Okay.
which is you play it on your own,
Hmm.
but you control two characters at once, one using each of
Okay.
the sticks. Yeah, so that you can see that there is something he's sort of been going for here, and it's slowly over each game sort of developed.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a good way to sort of advertise your games to twice as many people.
Well, but to be fair, and I don't know if they did this. I want to say they did this with both A Way Out and It Takes Two, but they made it so if you buy one copy,
hmm
the other person gets to play it for free that you're playing with, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah,
you don't even have to. I mean, you can buy two copies, of course, but you don't have to necessarily.
yeah, yeah. That's for EA very rare to be very pro-consumer there.
Exactly. I'm sure when they brought that concept to the board meetings, I'm sure it's that meme, where they throw someone out the window of like the conference room. Someone's just thrown out. But yeah. Anyway, so it Takes Two was definitely, at least for me, my first introduction into actually playing one of their games, and it was great. So in a nutshell, the story is basically these. I mean, it's kind of depressing, to be honest, but it's about this
Yeah,
couple who have a kid, and it like I think right. I mean, it's been a few weeks since I played this, but like right out the gate, you're like, man, this couple kind of doesn't like each other, and then it goes into like, oh yeah,
no,
we're getting divorced. So like, what a way to start out a great great game in terms of story, but then it quickly, that's kind of the whole point of the story is you're supposed to rekindle your marriage, and you get essentially turned into these like anthropomorphic dolls that get put through all these obstacles in the house. And I think the standout character, of course, is the book. What's his name?
Oh, Doctor Hakim.
Dr.
Doctor
Hakim. Yeah,
Hakim.
there we go. Dr. Hakim.
Yeah.
And
Do, do you know who he's voiced by?
I think you told me this, but I can't remember.
Josef Fares.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's just him. Yeah, it's the correct.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Why am I not surprised? So yeah,
Yeah.
he this book about marriage and him. Well, it's like another anthropomorphized character of this book that's about like rekindling relationships. Comes to help them, but he's also makes very sexually suggestive gestures with his body, doing it throughout the whole game. And he's just, it like skirts the line between like, is this going too far or not? I can't quite tell.
Yeah, I think it does that very like jokey and very serious very
Mhm.
well. But the thing is, that's what real life
Mhm.
is like.
Right.
Is you can all be very sad one moment and then joking about the situation the next. And as you say, it's quite depressing when they're like just in the house and they're barely talking to each other, and their daughter's like crying in her bedroom.
Right, exactly. Like, all right.
Yeah, and then it jumps to like, oh, I'm made out of clay. Oh, I'm fatter than I used to be. Or and then like the wife's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, right. And then there were a couple times where like you are so the whole time that you're in these doll characters or whatever, the actual human bodies are just like asleep at their desks or on the couch or whatever. And
Hmm.
it's also depressing because the daughter kind of tries to go up to them and like, look, mommy, look at this drawing, and she's just like, the mom's just like dead on the couch, like asleep, and she like can't wake up. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a little dark for me. At time. Also, another thing that I still couldn't quite understand how this was possible was, okay, so the dude is clearly like an American guy. The wife clearly has a British accent, but the daughter has a British accent, but I think they're still in America. So I don't know
Yeah,
how she has that accent. I mean, I don't think they're in the UK. I think they're like in America.
yeah.
So unless she went
That's
to
not
like,
America.
I mean, I don't think she's going to like a British school or something, but that would be weird.
She's
Uh,
watching a lot of Peppa
oh,
Pig.
sorry, that's right. That's how she's getting
Yeah,
trained.
yeah. That's all she watches. And
Oh
other
my god.
great British shows like Postman Pat and Fireman Sam.
I was gonna say Mr. Bean, but he doesn't talk, so unless she just starts making
Uh,
grunting noises or something like that.
I don't
Uh,
know, man. It's a messed up house she's coming from.
yeah, this is a very, very interesting upbringing she's had. But anyways, as far as the story, it's nothing like insane. It's like I said, it's just them rekindling their marriage and like learning through the power of friendship, of like how they met and all that stuff. I mean, it's a heartwarming story, I guess. But like it would
Hmm.
be great if you know all the divorces that happen could actually be solved by something like this. But I understand it's a fantasy. Like I get it. You know, it's whatever. But yeah, as far as the main draw of it, of course, is the gameplay, and that is definitely where it shines. And once again, where I think, like you were saying with A Way Out, it was kind of like that starting point. But it seems like this game, it like really came to fruition as far as like their vision of how, I guess, like the co-op games are like should be structured, I guess, like and it's not just couch co-op. I mean, I think that's super fun if you can do that, but like for me, so okay, so I started out playing with my wife, and my wife does play a decent amount of video games, but for some reason this one, she just wasn't into it as much, and so she kind of fell off with playing it. And then I found one of our friends from our fun Discord servers and Dojo days, who I've played with. He'll go, if you're watching this, you know who you are. He'll go unnamed, but I ended up playing with him just in over PlayStation Network, and he actually lives outside of the U.S. So I was like, is it going to be lagging and weird or anything like that? But actually, it ended up doing pretty well. I think there was one time the EA servers were actually down, and that kind of screwed us over once. But other than that, it played really well, and it was great with all the puzzles and stuff. But I think you said you did play with your wife. Is that right?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. We played it. Honestly, it took us like 2 months to beat
Yeah.
because this is the issue I've always had with like multiplayer games in general
Mm-hmm.
is I don't like playing with strangers
Mm-hmm.
there's so many games I look at and I think, oh, I'd really enjoy that, like multiplayer games. But then I go, yeah, but when am I going to get a group of friends
Yeah.
together to play that? Because it's not like when I was 10 and you just go, oh, come around my house and play Mario Kart.
Right.
Like, I've tried to arrange playing games with people and they're just like, oh, I've got work today. Are you free this date? No. Okay.
Work.
Yeah. Not a true gamer.
Yeah. Yeah. Please quit your job.
Yeah. But that's it. It's just like arranging when you have like 2 to 3 hours to sit down together and play,
Yeah.
which is a bit different now that I'm married, for instance, because
Sure.
on our days off together, you can sit down and have that be the thing you do for the day.
Yeah.
My wife's not a big gamer or anything. She likes playing Animal Crossing, things like that. But she's not playing Final Fantasy, for instance.
Yeah. Sure.
But she really enjoyed it. She struggled a bit as well with some of the controls, but it wasn't anything that if we just persevered for a bit of time, she couldn't get the hang of.
Well, so here's the thing. There were parts that even for me, like I was having difficulty with at times, and like yeah,
Hmm.
if you persevere through it, you'll be fine, and you know you'll get the hang of it. But I was actually surprised at the difficulty at certain points. Like it wasn't insurmountable by any means, but like. I guess when I first saw this, it was kind of. I think even Josef Fares or maybe just EA in general was like, "This is a game you can play with couples and like you know you can have fun playing." And I mean, yeah, that is true, of course, but for someone who hasn't maybe doesn't like 3D platformers maybe as much, and I think that's where it was because like my wife loves actually like she'll play difficult games sometimes like Gauntlet or the Baldur's Gate games type like that type of stuff and like the isometric games. So she's it's not it wasn't a gaming thing in general for her. I think it was just more this type of platforming she just wasn't a fan of. But like I said, even for me, there was times where I was like, damn, this is causing me to die a couple times. So like I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, I found like most of the boss fights we could get through, even if she wasn't great at them,
Mhm.
because really you only need one person to beat the bosses, because the other one can just come back.
Right. Mhm.
What I found fun though was the puzzles. Like literally, like half of them, she would figure out the answer before me, and
Yeah.
I'd figure out the other
Mhm.
half before her. Because a lot of it was just assessing a room.
Right.
Like you walk into a room and you look at the stuff and you go, right, well, I think I need to get up there so I can shoot the thing. So if you get on the other side, that make you go up, and
Mhm.
then you can help me get up and things like that. You know, it
Yeah.
weren't
Mhm.
it weren't. Oh, shoot him in the head, and then when the mouth opens, I'll throw the grenade. And
Yeah, exactly. No, like for the rest of the game when I ended up who I was playing it with, yeah, we were in constant like discussion of like, okay, you go here, you go there, and yeah, it was back and forth for who was solving what. So I think it was definitely a game where you have to be. I mean, by nature of it being a co-op game, you have to be collaborative, of course. But I would say it wasn't like I'm okay, so it's trying to think of like other co-op games. There's a lot of like co-op games in the sense of like Halo or Gears of War or even maybe I don't know if Call of Duty does co-op or not, but like some of those shooter
Mhm.
games, like yeah, there might be an element of you have to kind of figure out what's going on. But to your point, it's like yeah, just shoot them in the head and move forward, right? Like you don't really have to strategize
Mhm.
too much. But with this, like no, like if you don't talk, like you're not moving forward throughout the game.
It's not like even like Journey, where with Journey you can communicate by like little beeps and
Yeah.
boops,
Mm-hmm.
but generally you're just walking. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this is you're getting in. It's like when you're doing like a crossword together
Yeah.
with someone. You know, you talk it out. You're like, well, no. Do this instead
Mm-hmm.
because then that'll lead to this. And
Yeah.
honestly, I was shocked because this game's like 10 hours.
I
I
was
want to say,
surprised at the length of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because we were like we'd played it for quite a while, and I like was like, oh, I wonder how long we've got left just to try and gauge. So I like Googled it takes two walkthrough
Yeah.
just to see like how many levels there
Right.
were, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily to like go like, oh, I needed it. So then it was like, oh, you're on like level 2. And I'm
Right.
like, what? And it's like there's 8 levels, and I'm like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, that was it. And what shocked me was there wasn't any levels that were like, oh, you're just redoing the same thing over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. And
Right.
there's nothing where you're like, oh, we've done this already and we just keep repeating it.
Yeah, it definitely keeps introducing new mechanics, and like each area kind of has its own thing that's unique about it. So, yeah, to your point, it wasn't the same. And then even I'm trying to remember some of the examples, but like once again, it's not like each person in a given room or a given setting, it wasn't like each person just does the same thing. Like even within a setting, like for the one that comes to mind is the one part of the game where one person has the nails and the other person has the hammer. So like
Hmm.
you literally can't progress unless you get the other person to help out. And then like each area was kind of the same thing where the two people playing have their own even unique abilities. It wasn't just like they can both shoot guns and they can both fly and they both can do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No, and I don't say this lightly, like, because I feel like on the internet it's very like easy to be hyperbolic, like, oh, it's the best thing ever, and then in a week say the same thing about another game. But it really reminded me of Mario games,
Hmm.
whereas like your average platformer will introduce something to do. You
Sure.
know, like this is the gun type of gun you use. You shoot it and it sticks something in the wall and you can jump up. And
Right.
that's the entire game. Whereas Mario's like you do this for this level. And then in the next level you get a different thing that does
Hmm.
something else. And then in the next level. And It Takes Two had that, which is what more keeps it interesting.
Hmm.
It didn't base the entire game around one element.
Hmm.
It based each room or area around one element
Yeah. Well,
and gave.
and each element were almost like, or each level, I guess I'll say, are almost like at times completely different games too. Like they're very different, even game
Mhm,
mechanics. It's not just like you get one type of gun versus a new type of a gun or something. Like no, they were like even wildly different things you were doing, and then throughout your time playing to kind of almost take a break or have fun, there was like mini games sprinkled throughout where you could even compete against each other. Like there was like Rock'em
mhm,
Sock'em Robots. There was one that wasn't even a game. It was more one person goes into a jar and the other person just shocks them and like kills them over and over again, and that kept happening
mhm.
to me. And there was all kinds of other ridiculous games, but yeah, like they definitely kept it fresh throughout the whole time.
Yeah, and one of the things as well that I think was really cool about playing it with my wife was she felt like she was doing well
Yeah.
whenever we did it. Because she's normally nervous about playing games because she's like, "Oh, you're so much better than I
Mm.
am. It's not going to be fun for me." Blah blah blah. Whereas where you work together, and I think she like was happy that she beat the game,
Hmm.
and it kind of made her be like, "Oh, what else can we play?" And she's
Hmm.
like looking at like Sackboy Adventure and things like that now. So it's quite nice to be like, this is a really good introduction game. I feel like
Sure.
for for people who have partners that they want to play with.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There definitely should be more co-op games, and yeah, and it's not. I think what's good about it is like kind of like I was saying a minute ago. There are games that have co-op, but it's mostly like
Hmm.
it's usually an afterthought. It's like, okay, here's a single player game like Halo, Gears of War, whatever. Oh, you want to
Yeah.
play co-op? We're just going to copy and paste you on a second person and you're still doing the exact same thing. So it's
Hmm.
not like the level's designed for two players or anything, or it might scale in difficulty or something like that, but essentially it's not really a co-op game. But this is like you have to play it with another person. There is no other option, and it was designed that way. So I think uh that just shows with how the game is played. And so I'm curious. I guess what I'm curious is moving forward is this just going to be their thing where they're always doing co-op games, or I'm curious if they're going to try their hand at something else next.
I mean, I just like this studio hasn't made a bad game in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think Brothers was amazing.
Sure.
I thought it was a very solid, good game. I
Okay.
really enjoyed A Way Out, and I really enjoyed It Takes Two.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually say It Takes Two is probably my game of the year so far.
Damn. Okay.
So far, I mean, we've got the big releases at the end of the year still to come, but
Monkey
I think
Ball,
we can both
obviously.
agree. Hey, Monkey Ball is solid.
No, it's one
Um,
of my favorite. And I'm like
yeah,
legitimately serious. It's one of my
yeah,
favorite
yeah,
games
yeah,
of all time. I mean, obviously, and Lost Judgment, whatever, fine. But no, Monkey Ball's where it's at.
yeah. But like, honestly, it's been a bit of a slow first half of the year
A little bit.
for games. So I I've really enjoyed this. I would say it's been my game, but a lot of these co-op experiences, like A Way Out
Hmm.
and It Takes Two, really depend on who you play with as well.
Yeah, of course.
So, and I feel like your experience of playing with someone will translate onto how much you enjoy the game as well.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I think if you're with someone who genuinely wants to either if they haven't played too many games, they want to just get introduced to one, but like not like super dropped in the deep end. This is definitely good. But even if not, like the person I ended up playing with it to finish out the game, I mean he plays as many games as I do, but even for that perspective, like for the two people who do play plenty of games, like it's fun. It's not like it was easy because, like I said, there were parts even like I was struggling at times. So it's by no means like a cakewalk, but it's a challenge at times for sure. But in a good way though. It's not like a freaking Dark Souls, the Dark Souls of co-op games.
No, and I think it's unique as well because normally when you play like co-op games, like you said, like a Halo or a Gears of War, where they just slot in another person, right?
Hmm.
As you said, you can play those on your own, or you can get a stranger, and everyone can play that game without communicating.
Hmm.
This is a game that is based on communication in the real world,
Well, right, yeah.
which and then I can't think of many other games like that.
Yeah, so what was funny was after we finished It Takes Two, we also were like, man, like, this was an awesome experience. Is there anything else out there, even relatively recently, other than like A Way
Mm.
Out or anything that we can play also as co-op? But once again, not just the typical, copy and paste shooter type of thing. So funny enough, we ended up trying. So about literally like the next week after It Takes Two came out, I ended up getting the Wolfenstein collection, and it contains all the most recent like modern Wolfenstein games. And I love like
Hmm.
the Doom and Quake and stuff like that. And Wolfenstein is an old classic, and so I've always wanted to play those. But one of the games in that collection is called Wolfenstein Youngblood, I believe it's called, and that was also a co-op designed um,
Hmm.
like first person shooter game. And I'm like, oh, like, I mean, granted, it came out a few years ago, so it's before It Takes Two, but I'm like, okay, maybe this is cool. Like, this is a co-op designed multiplayer game. Like, let's try it out. It is not good. It is not that
No,
good.
okay.
Yeah, it's you would think like how can you possibly mess this up, and it's just the most bland co-op. I mean, it basically most of it is kind of like a copy and paste of just of a shooter,
Mm.
but like the parts that they tried to make co-op related just really didn't work, and I'm like, okay, that's how you do it wrong, but It Takes Two did it very right. So you'd like I thought like
Mhm.
how hard could it be, but no, like you do have to design a game well to do this. I mean I guess I'm not
Mhm.
surprised, but it was just funny like immediately after to play a co-op game that was not good at all.
Well, with this design, they've obviously looked at every single puzzle in the game,
Hmm.
and they've gone right. Firstly, you need both people to progress.
Hmm.
Secondly, each person's got to have a different experience at this puzzle as well.
Hmm.
Because I don't think there's anything where you can be like, "Oh, you do this time, and I'll hang back," or
Oh no,
anything
no.
like that. I feel like depending on the character you are, every puzzle in this game is a right. Cody has to do this, and May has to do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Whereas, like as you said, like games like shooters and stuff like that, it's generally all right. I'll go left, you go right,
Mm, yeah, pretty much. And,
and
and like I said,
and that's it.
yeah, and I like I mentioned Doom and Wolfenstein and stuff. Like those are fun single player games. Like I have a blast playing them, but then when they tried to bring the co-op element, it just kind of fell flat a little bit. So yeah, like it just wasn't anything special necessarily. So yeah, exactly. It was designed for it, and it was good. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
other than that though, yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to what they do next. I mean, I'm hoping it's another co-op style game and this becomes their thing. But like I said, at the same time, maybe they're like, all right, we've done this a few times. Maybe we want to try something else. But I'd be willing to see what that is. But I definitely would welcome another, co-op style experience for sure.
yeah. I mean, I want a spin off based on Moon Baboon.
Wait, Moon Baboon.
The yeah, he's the baboon that's in space that you have to fight.
Oh yeah. Sorry, like I said, it's been a
Yeah,
few weeks. Sorry, the one that I remember, the most traumatizing one, was the elephant
the elephant.
getting her fucking like ears and trunk ripped off or something, and then falling off the cliff like Mufasa in Lion King or some shit. It was ridiculous.
It's my wife's favorite animals are
Oh
elephants,
no.
and I think that happens around the halfway
Hmm.
point in this game. I was like, I'm pretty sure she's ready to drop this game right now
I thought you said this was going to be
because
a fun
that
game.
is horrific. Yeah, but you know what? You know what is like horrific is like how cutesy everything looks,
Right, right.
and they just come in and they're just like, "Yeah, let's kill this elephant."
Yeah, that like came out of nowhere, and like even for me, I'm like, "Fuck! Like, what is like? Am I seeing this correctly? Like, what is going on here?" It was a little
Well, It,
traumatizing.
it's like more disturbing than like even like you see God of War or Gears of War where they like saw people in half and
Right,
like literally that you kind of expect because everything's red and brown and there's
right.
blood everywhere. Whereas this like seeing like the stuffing come flying out and the elephant screaming please in like a cutesy little voice, you're just like, oh, this
No,
is
it's
horrible.
gonna fucking haunt my
that
nightmares.
that is actually that is actually something that like made me think these are bad people.
Like, well, it's funny because once again, you look at Joseph Fares and some of the shit he says, and I'm like, once again, I guess I'm not surprised once knowing that guy's personality. He wanted to inject some sick fucking humor into this just to make people probably squirm a little bit. So I don't know. I mean, that stuff. I mean, it made me laugh, of course, but it was definitely a little
Yeah.
unsuspecting.
I was a little disappointed there was nothing that came up about that
Mhm.
further down the line. I was expecting them to sort of like have a thing where they like think about they go, look what we did. We're awful people.
Well, right, because
But
okay.
they don't, they just move on.
Well, that's the thing. So I guess brief spoiler alert. So at the end they get out and they're a big happy family and they go walking down the road. But like I have to think about the next day. They wake up and like talk like they have to go to therapy, right? Like this must be this. Imagine this happening to you and you have to go back to like your 9 to 5 job at the fucking office tomorrow. Like I would need therapy
Hmm.
100% because this must be like a traumatizing thing. Like yeah, we just killed an elephant. We got a vacuum cleaner to suck out its own eyeballs. Like we saw all kinds of weird shit in our house. Like that's horrifying.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I did like all the different bosses and stuff, like, and all the
Hmm.
different creatures and things like. I thought it was hilarious how like you've got the squirrels that are at war
Mm,
with the bees and stuff
that
like
was pretty
that,
funny.
and they everything, all their weapons are made out of stuff that's obviously just been thrown out.
Right, right.
Um, I love, yeah, I loved all that stuff. That was great.
Yeah, it was a funny
The one
game.
thing I will say,
Yeah, sorry.
that, yeah, I was going to say the the castle level, which is huge.
Yes,
And
yes.
apparently the dad built that in her bedroom.
Hmm.
All these doors, all these different rooms. I'm like, geez,
How did you have
how
time?
long did he? Yeah, how did he build this?
Yeah, that must have taken a long time. Yeah, their house must be massive because I mean, it kind of looks like okay, they got a decent sized house, kind of from the outside, and a couple of shots on just when they're like normal humans. But then you go through
Hmm.
it, and there's like entire civilizations that have been there for like generations, living there in the different walls, and there's these castles. Like, damn, like what the hell's going on in this place?
Yeah. Well, like as I say as well, they sort of have the bits where you're sort of like these are awful people, but like the one level I really liked was the one where they're in the snow globe.
Hmm.
And that was the point where you can see they're sort of starting to get back together or falling
Yeah.
back in love with because they're sort of like reminiscing and stuff. I would have liked more of that stuff.
Hmm.
Just them sort of like talking about their relationship, maybe where things are going wrong. Honestly, one of the things I was expecting,
Hmm.
especially like I thought they'd go there after the elephant, like they wouldn't be afraid. I was expecting it to come out like one of them had cheated or something like that.
Oh my god, dude, that would get too real. I don't know.
Like, but I was like they sort of said they were fell out of love and that was it. But I was expecting there to be like some big bombshell, like one. I guess you can't really do that because then it puts the blame on one person in the relationship.
Right, right.
But yeah,
Cody, you slept with my sister. No, no, I swear.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, but I was expecting something like that to come
Hmm.
out at the end because I won't say anything for a way out, but like
Hmm.
something happens in that game that's like a big twist.
Yeah, yeah, and so
Yeah.
like I said, I've seen playthroughs of A Way Out, and I won't spoil it either. But I thought it was cool to see what happens towards the end of that game. So yeah, that was neat. But yeah, no, for this one, it was more just kind of a general. They were together a long time. They didn't. They fell out of love or whatever, but yeah, now they're happy or whatever. So I don't know. What if there's sequel? It Takes Three. And something happens again where they have to keep maintaining their marriage. Would that be an okay sequel? I don't know how that would work.
Are they like converting to Mormonism?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it takes
they're bringing another wife in.
a sister wife.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna get really weird in the sequel. It's gonna get very political.
Hey, everything's got to be a franchise these days, whether it makes
Exactly.
sense or not.
Exactly. Yeah, this is part of the whole universe. A Way Out and It Takes Two are actually in the same universe.
Well, there is an Easter egg for A Way Out in this game where you find the dolls for the characters.
Yeah, I did see that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't played it yet, highly recommend it. Like I said, if you buy one copy of it, you get to play with anyone else for free. Not the person you play with doesn't have. And I think that's the case for all platforms and PC, right? I think.
As far as I'm aware, I don't think there's been anything where I don't think there's any kind of cross play.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like if you have it, you get a code on any system.
Yeah, I guess the only thing for consoles is you do have to have
they haven't got the game ready.
Yeah, so you do have to have the what is it, like Xbox Live or PlayStation Network, or like you have to have that subscription, like just to play games online. But as far as the copy of the game, basically how it works is the other person who doesn't have the game downloads almost like a trial version, but it's basically a way to play the full version, assuming the other person has the copy, and then you just connect in the same lobby, and it works out. So it's actually super easy to do. So yeah, I mean, I hope more games take that approach as well, where the other person gets to play for free. I mean, I can't imagine that'll happen super often, but I mean, it was nice of them to get that through. I mean, if they can break through at EA of all companies, I'm hopeful it'll happen with other places.
Honestly, I'm just happy to see something a bit different because I just like creators, even if they don't stick the landing. Like, I didn't think Death Stranding quite stuck the landing, but I like that Kojima's like, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
Or same with David Cage. Like, I really didn't like Beyond Two Souls, right?
Yeah.
But I still bought it and I played it, and I appreciated he's like going, I want to do something a little bit different.
Yeah,
I want more creators like that in games.
Yeah, I think pushing the medium is always a good thing. Like because if you don't, you just get the same stale bullshit every single time. So yeah, even if I'm not a massive fan of a particular game, I'm still more often than not, maybe not every time, more often than not, glad I at least tried something different to at least experience it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, I'd rather pay $60 and be disappointed in Beyond Two Souls or It Takes Two or Death Stranding than pay $30 and be disappointed by Call of Duty 20.
Right. Yeah, because at that point, you know what you're getting.
yeah, and it's like at least then you can see what they're trying to do. It's I think that's interesting in a sense, and I feel like Josef Fares is going to become one of those rare people in the industry that it's just fun to see what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they need to give people the reins to have a little bit more freedom. I mean, I know it's tough because you got to manage expectations and budgets, and like games cost a shit ton of money. So I do get it, but it is a rare treat when that does happen. So I agree. Cool. But yeah, any other final words for It Takes Two?
No, I'd suggest everyone plays it, provided you got someone to play it with, obviously. I know that's not always easy.
Yeah, exactly. So check it out if you can. I'm assuming it's probably still full price now, but maybe it'll go on sale soon. But either way, I mean, it's worth full price. Like, it's a great game.
I've seen it appear on sale, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure you can find it. But either way, it's not bad by any means. So yeah, check it out and play with a friend, play with a loved one. If you want to play with a stranger, I guess go for it. If you can find someone.
Don't talk to strangers online, kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good one. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.